We're talking with Stacy Canan, Assistant Director for Older Americans at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Stacy, how much money do older Americans lose to scams and fraud each year?
Well, it's estimated to be around anywhere between $2.9 billion and $36 billion. It's a huge, pervasive problem affecting so many individuals.
And is there any pattern in the type of fraud that that older Americans are being exploited by?
I wish I could say that there is. It might be easier to tackle, but in fact, it's a very complicated, different scenario almost in each time. You know, the fraudster could be a neighbor, could even be a pastor. Sometimes, unfortunately, it's a relative, a grandchild, for example. It could be someone who's offshore, who's telephoning. There's no end to the types of scams and frauds that are perpetrated against the older population.
Is there anything that you're seeing right now that seems to be emerging as a big money trend for the fraudsters?
Well, we see a lot of the same ones over and over again. There's the Grandparent Scam, which, if you know what that is, where someone pretends that they're a grandchild calling to get money. We see romance scams. We see a lot of problems with debt consolidators and elimination companies, people who are saying that they're going to help eliminate someone's debt, and in fact they take money and do nothing for the consumer.
And how can older people or their family members protect their finances?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm really glad you asked that, because there is a lot to be done, and unfortunately, all too often, nothing is done. So really, planning is really important, putting things in place. We urge older people, especially as they're aging, to get their papers in order. We actually have a planning for incapacity guide that's available on our website, consumerfinance.gov. You know, what we like to say is hope for the best, plan for the worst. And, you know, find trusted relatives, friends, let them know what your plan is, and make arrangements that should you ever become incapacitated, there's someone who will be protecting your interests.
And why are reverse mortgages so perilous?
They're not always. So, you know, let me just say that, you know, for the right person at the right time, it may be a terrific product to use. Unfortunately, what we see is that there are people who take out a reverse mortgage, sometimes at a young age, that could be 62, that's the earliest eligibility age, and then they run out of loan proceeds at a time in their life when they probably have less money coming in, and their perhaps health care bills are increasing and other expenses may be increasing, and they're no longer able to maintain the house. If you cannot maintain the house, if you can't pay your property taxes and insurance, those are things that are going to cause a default of your reverse mortgage. And what we see from complaints that are submitted to the Bureau, as well as talking to legal services offices nationwide, is that unfortunately there are people who lose their home with a reverse mortgage, often for those reasons.
And how can the aging in place trend be ripe for fraud?
Well, unfortunately, people are very vulnerable and, you know, wondering how are they going to make plans for their future, and they're concerned. And there are a lot of people who really think, I just want to stay put and age in my current home. What they're not considering is the full picture of, you know, where are they going to be, what might they want 10 years from now. If they make a choice to take out, for example, a reverse mortgage at a young age. A reverse mortgage, by the way, for those who don't know, you don't make mortgage payments, but what happens is that the loan balance increases every month. And that what that means is that 10 years after you get a reverse mortgage, your loan balance is actually going to be pretty high. If you take out the loan at 62, at 72, you may all of a sudden realize, I'm having trouble managing the stairs in my house. I can't afford the property taxes. I want to be near one of my children. I have no public transportation where I am. I need to move. At this point now, after 10 years of a loan balance that has increased, the option of selling your house and having home equity in order to purchase something else is probably going to be extinguished. And in other words, it limits your options.